man. Guys, you know, it's, I can't believe how fast 20 years went by. I mean, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And, you know, to be standing here at center court with you guys, my teammates behind me, and appreciating all this, you know, the journey that we've been on. You know, we've been through our ups and been through our downs. And I think the most important part is that we all stayed together throughout. You know, I grew up a diehard Laker fan. Diehard. I mean, I knew everything about every player that's ever played here. So to be drafted and then traded to this organization and to spend 20 years here, I mean, you can't write something better than this. And I'm more proud of the fact that not about the championships, but about the down years, because we didn't run. We didn't run. We played through all that stuff, and we got our championships, and we did it the right way. And all I can do here is just thank you guys. Thank you guys for all the years of support. Thank you guys for all the motivation. Thank you for all the inspiration. And, you know, what's funny, the thing that had me cracking up all night long was the fact that I go through 20 years of everybody screaming to pass the ball. And on the last night, they're like, don't pass it. This has been absolutely beautiful, you guys. I can't believe it's come to an end. You guys will always be in my heart, and I sincerely appreciate it. No words can describe how I feel about you guys. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. God, I love you guys, and I love you guys. And to my family, my wife Vanessa, our daughters Natalia and Gianna, you know, thank you guys for all your sacrifice. You know, for all the hours I spent in the gym working and training, and Vanessa, you holding down the family the way that you have. I can't, there's no way that I can thank you enough for that. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And what can I say? Mamba out.
John Altobelli, Carrie Altobelli, Alyssa Altobelli, Christina Mauser, Sarah Chester, Peyton Chester, Era Zobayan, Gianna Bryant, Kobe Bryant. These are the 9 people who unfortunately lost their life in a tragic accident Sunday morning. It's important for all of us to realize not all of them may be famous or internationally well known, but nevertheless, all of them have family, friends, and loved ones who are mourning today. I'd be crazy to think that this is what I'd be talking about a week from the last podcast. Who would have known that one of the greatest players to ever put on any sort of basketball jersey and to ever grace any sort of court would pass? For me, obviously, I think many of you guys know that Kobe Bryant, of course, is, you know, my favorite player on my favorite team. And as you've probably either listening to this podcast or just know me in general, you know, obviously know I'm a huge Laker fan, and Kobe Bryant, of course, is a big reason why. However, I don't think many of you know necessarily how big of an impact he's had on my life. Now, this is going to get a little personal, and I'm sorry, but, you know, everyone's kind of said their piece publicly. I feel like I'm one of the last people to do so, so here's me speaking. I, of course, did not know Kobe personally. I never met him, but nevertheless, the impact he has had on my life, I can't even put it into words. Being a kid, you know, from Long Island, from Suffolk County, and at the time I started watching basketball, I was about 10-ish years old when I first started playing the game and eventually falling in love with the game. Kobe was, of course, the best player at the time in the league. And of course, I loved just watching him play, and the competitive guy he is, doing whatever it takes to win, and just overall skill to his game. But it was deeper than that. I was a kid who had very low self-esteem. I was afraid to speak up, and I really didn't know what working hard really meant. Kobe changed that. He's meant so much to me. And I'm sorry if it's getting a little emotional, a little personal, but, as I'm sitting here at Innovation Park in my Kobe jersey, doing this as we speak. But, there's just some people in life where you may not know them personally, but I think everybody has a childhood hero, right? And for me, that was Kobe. Man, I don't even know what to say. It's just so tragic, and I never thought I'd be ever speaking about anything ever really related to this. Selfishly, I was hoping one day that I get really big at something. Whether it be, what I'm doing at school right now or really anything. And meet Kobe and personally tell him how much of an impact he's had on my life. I can't do that. Spiritually, I can, though. And I know him and the 8 other people up there are watching all of us down here. But it's hard. Obviously, here on Ball Don't Lie, we usually keep it upbeat. We usually have a great time. But it's been hard. And I just want to thank this club because obviously I found out the news pretty much when everybody else did. My friend texted me, and I thought he was lying. I thought he was just joking with me because that's just kind of the dude he is. And so I went on social media, and when I looked up just like everybody else did, and I just didn't believe it at first. I was like, this isn't true. There's no way. This is definitely some internet hoax. This is not true. And obviously, unfortunately, it was. I will say, though, I feel like a lot of people don't get the credit they deserve when, they don't smell their flowers while they're still here, but I think Kobe did. I think he passed happy spiritually. He was, a father, a husband, a teammate, and an icon. And obviously, if you haven't heard, him and a lot of the people on the plane, or helicopter rather, were going to basketball. It was basketball-related games with the AAU team that, Kobe coaches his daughter. And so I guess it is kind of poetic justice that he went out doing what he loved and with people he loved. Man, it's just crazy. I mean, it felt like I lost like a family member, honestly. Like, it's not even an exaggeration when you say that he inspired millions of people. And, he's the reason I am who I am today. He's a big reason why. And again, I don't know him personally, never met him, but I think it just shows you the example he set for kids like me. Man, I'm sorry, obviously, you probably don't want to be hearing this. You're probably looking for more fun things to talk about. We'll get to it here, of course, on Ball Don't Lie. It's not just going to be solely a Kobe tribute, but, of course I had to give my 2 cents on the whole situation. And the one thing about Kobe, or one of many things I respected about him, was, he was a no-excuse guy. And no matter what, he would always get the job done, even if he wasn't 100%. So on Sunday, obviously, for this club, we have our prep sessions, 5 o'clock. And I could have easily just been like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going. And I think everybody there would have understood why. I couldn't do that, though. And I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I was praying to God that Sunday that I'd be able to make it through and come through, especially without having an emotional breakdown, which I did not have. I was able to get through it, and then I didn't miss any classes. I went to all my classes ever since. I went to the show, had my stuff together, but it was hard. Obviously, people come and go, but I feel like, that doesn't mean that they're forgotten. And, I think all of us are still mourning, especially those that were really, really touched by Kobe. So obviously, I've been doing this every single week, the podcast, ever since we first started it, and I could easily not have done it this week, but I wasn't going to do that. Just seeing the reaction from everybody, it is just crazy, and I think it puts life into perspective a ton. And, like I said, Kobe died a happy man. He was with his family, and you can tell it was just super genuine. He's coaching his daughters, but if you even look on any of his social media accounts, he was promoting all of his daughters. I saw some videos yesterday, and it had nothing to do with basketball at all, but it was just Kobe and his family just vibing and, doing whatever they were doing, and they were just so happy, and, me also, being in a family of 6, I can only imagine just, even what the dinner tables are like, with 2 less people. Man. I just want to just say thank you to anybody who's honestly ever taken a chance on me, even the people who've hated on me. Just like anybody. I've had my ups and downs in life, but wow. I just want to thank everybody who's ever given me the time of day, and and I think just this super tragic incident, I think just shows just how precious life is, and you only live once, right? So I think you just gotta appreciate everybody, and if you have a bone to pick with somebody you care about, it's not worth it. That petty stuff's just not worth it. And yeah, so obviously the NBA has done so much, and college basketball, high school basketball, any sort of level of basketball, and sports in general have there's been the 8-second violations, the 24-second violations for Kobe's number. Players are being to change their numbers. Mark Cuban for the Dallas Mavericks said they're going to retire 24. Kobe's never even played for the Mavericks. And then, right before this podcast is being recorded on Thursday, mid-afternoon, or late afternoon, rather. And so if you haven't heard yet, the NBA will be changing its all-star format, which I'm actually really excited for because it's so basically, if you ever watch the all-star games for really any sport, they're kind of boring. They're not that fun, competitive. But this year, I really like the direction they're going with this. So basically, every quarter, I'm going to try to explain this as best as I can. I got an article up right here. It's basically going to be a game within a game. So every quarter is going to start off 0-0. And whichever team, being Team LeBron or Team Giannis, wins the quarter, will ultimately, they're going to win, I think, $100,000 for the charity they're representing, which is obviously super dope. The NBA has done the charity thing for quite some time, obviously, giving back to the kids. And at the end of the fourth quarter, it's kind of going to be like a pickup game a little bit. So the team that gets to the 24 mark, of course, 24 in honor of Kobe Bryant, they're ultimately going to win the game. So if the score entering the fourth quarter, let's say, all right, hold on, let me backtrack a little bit here, sorry. So as I said before, the first three quarters, the beginning of each quarter, the score is going to be 0-0, right? However, the fourth quarter, the scores from the first three quarters will be added up from both teams. And so rather than the start of the fourth quarter being 0-0, it's going to be, let's say, 100-95. And the team that first gets to 124 points will win the game. So I think that, honestly, it adds a whole nother level of competition. Everybody's winning here. It's going to be a good time in Chicago. And obviously to honor Kobe Bryant, as many of us have. And one thing that Kobe loved, which is competition, competing. And I think he has the most all-star MVPs, I believe, in NBA history. So he would have loved this. He would definitely have loved this. For sure. And just as a fan, I think this is awesome too. I have a feeling that they're going to probably keep this up to some extent. Because I think it is going to end really well. And I think players from both teams are probably going to be going out hard. Because athletes are athletes. Athletes are going to compete. And, yeah. So, and speaking of some competition here, Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook, obviously, they've had a little bit of a feud over the last couple of years. I don't think any of them have ever, put hands on each other, nothing like that. But Damian Lillard apparently told Westbrook in their last game, I'm the last person you want to see in the playoffs. that's man. If you guys just don't remember, last year when Russell Westbrook's on OKC, Damian Lillard hit the game winner over Paul George, but against the Thunder, and he kind of waved off the Thunder off the court. So I thought that was just really comical, and man, just a little more lighthearted stuff here. And also another former OKC Thunderman himself, if that's even a word, Victor Oladipo. He finally had his long-awaited return yesterday, and he came off the bench, but he hit the shot that ultimately sent it into overtime. It was a freaking long three. I mean, gone fishing three. And, I guess he's back, right? But that's a huge addition for Indiana, of course, because they've been rolling without him, and maybe it'll be a little bit of an adjustment period, but Victor Oladipo's a dude, and they know that, and watch out for Indiana. They could be a scary team in the playoffs coming out of that East. They're looking good right now. They got a lot of guys that can really get buckets on that team, and of course they can lock down, and I said it on my last pod, Nate McMillan, super underrated head coach. Now, our very own Ball Don't Lie alum, David Green, was at the New York Knicks Memphis Grizzlies game last night, and he left at the end, which was a bit unfortunate because there was a really interesting altercation that happened toward the end. So, to kind of walk you through it in case you didn't see it, I'll try my best here, but the Grizzlies, they ended up winning the game, and they won by a lot. And with less than a minute left, the Knicks were inbounding the ball, and Jay Crowder, intentionally stole it, dribbled to the near side corner, and shot a three. However, Elfrid Payton for the Knicks was not having any of that. And as Jay Crowder was shooting the ball in midair, Elfrid Payton literally shoved him to the ground. And then both benches didn't clear, but both teams obviously got in each other's face defending their guys. It's very petty, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. I think what Jay Crowder did, obviously, you as a basketball player, me growing up playing the sport, of course, I've never played on the NBA level, but, I've played enough games that I can probably speak to this. You don't do that. Especially, it's just, why? And Jay Crowder is on the Grizzlies. That team was winning by a lot. On the other hand, though, what Elfrid Payton did was unacceptable. To push a man, when you're up there in the air like that, and again, it was just a three-pointer, so you're not jumping super high, but you can really get hurt when your legs get kicked under you from like that. It's happened to me plenty of times. And if you play enough basketball, it'll happen to you too. But yeah, I mean, that was a really dirty play on Elfrid Payton's part, and then both benches cleared out. It was just extremely unprofessional. And I'm not that type of person to be like, oh, that's unprofessional, you shouldn't do that. I'm not necessarily kind of that person. I understand the game, but I mean, you can't do that. That's a dirty play. It's just too bad. I guess David didn't get to see it. You saw John Morant, though, doing some crazy crossovers and insane layup finishes as well. And David Green loves John Morant, as you all probably know if you listen to this podcast enough. But yeah, it's just kind of wanted to shed light on that as well. I thought that was just a really laughable kind of thing that happened in the NBA yesterday. Kawhi Leonard and Damian Lillard both got their first ever triple-doubles over this past week, ever in their careers. It's kind of crazy to think. These are two top 10 players. Maybe this is how much we value triple-doubles now. None of them ever had a triple-double in the NBA, at least. Kawhi Leonard is 9th season, Damian Lillard is 8th. I don't know, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Oh, wow, my opinion, two top 10 players just never had a triple-double. I don't know. Especially considering a guy like Russell Westbrook freaking average a triple-double for, multiple seasons. LeBron, of course, has so many. Luka Doncic is on that borderline of triple-doubles. So I don't know, I just found that interesting. Another thing I saw today as well, the NBA salary cap, while despite rumors it was going to decline, Woj, who I trust more than anybody when it comes to basketball news, he says that the NBA salary cap is expected to increase from the current $109.1 million cap that we are currently at. So I guess everybody complaining about the ratings going down stuff and the NBA not making as much money, I think they're doing okay. Also, another interesting thing, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but kind of, Luke Walton benched Buddy Hield for Bogdan Bogdanovic, and Luke Walton said that this change wasn't made as a punishment. Okay? So, obviously this is interesting because Bogdan Bogdanovic, his name has been all up in trade rumors, and we'll go over that a little bit later on in the podcast, and Buddy Hield just got all this money. So, and he's been hooping. So, I'm obviously they work together, they can obviously coexist, but financially, De'Aaron Fox is going to get his bag. Marvin Bagley is going to get his bag, no pun intended. And Bogdan Bogdanovic is going to get paid, but maybe not with the Kings. I don't know. And Harrison Barnes already gets paid a ton. So you kind of wonder if they're going to deal Bogdan BB-8 at the trade deadline, We'll get into that, and we'll see some of the possible scenarios that could happen. And then last but not least, for our Around the Association right here, Aaron Gordon has said that he will be entering or at least his representatives have said that Aaron Gordon will be entering the dunk contest. It will be his third appearance. His first one, of course, against Zach LaVine. It really felt like two people won. They should have done a co-winner, man, because both those guys just absolutely showed out. It was probably the best dunk contest I've ever seen. No doubt. And the second time Aaron Gordon did it, I think he was hurt at the time, but he was still trying to, tough it out and defend his title. But really wasn't able to. But, yeah, I hope for Aaron Gordon's sake and for the dunk contest's sake and the All-Star Weekend's sake that Aaron Gordon and Dwight Howard, Derrick Jones, and whoever else is competing can really show out, because as an NBA fan, I want to see a good dunk contest. I always love the three-point contest. There's so many good shooters that it does get really competitive, and it's hard to, like, not try in it, But the dunk contest, I want to see a good dunk contest. That's, the greats have always been in the good dunk contest. Kobe won a dunk contest. MJ's been in so many dunk contests. It's too bad we're not going to see Zion or Ja in the dunk contest this year, or maybe ever, but I hope we do, because both those guys got bounced. I hope Cassius Stanley, if he ends up leaving Duke, I think next year he'll be in it, because that boy got bounced. So, anyway, that is going to wrap it up here for Around the Association. Next up, we're going to be doing our Players of the Week, as we always do. If you haven't guessed by now, it is just me today. We're going to have no call-ins, no guest hosts, but don't worry. I'll try to keep you as engaged as I possibly can. So my first Player of the Week is going to be none other than DeMar DeRozan. Over the last 7 days, he's been averaging 29.5 points per game, 7.3 rebounds per game, 4.3 assists per game, and 11.5 free throws made per game. So I think DeMar, he kind of got off to a slow start this year, wasn't getting to the foul line as much. He always lives at the foul line. He's so good at creating contact and getting there, and he makes a lot as well. And he's been doing it recently, and I think he's putting up an all-star case. Again, I didn't put him in my all-star ballot just because that's how good the NBA is, but absolutely deserves to be in there. There's so many good guys. And, I think he also just has a lot to prove. Of course, he's going to be a free agent this summer, whether he re-signs with the Spurs or wherever. He's going to be demanding a new contract, and he wants to show people he can still play at a high level, which I certainly believe he can. Again, wants to make the All-Star game. You already know that. And like many, DeMar was inspired a ton by Kobe. You even watch him play, you just see the flashes of it. And he's a Compton kid. He's from California, so... And at this point, maybe it doesn't even matter where you're from, because Kobe was so well known that you can be inspired by him anywhere. But I think the fact that he was right in his backyard definitely meant a lot to DeMar. Next up on my Player of the Week is the Canadian sharpshooter, Dylan Brooks. As you know, the Memphis Grizzlies are hot. They are currently on a 4-game winning streak. They've won a lot of games. They are currently 2.5 game lead over the 9 seed, which I believe is the Spurs, for the 8 seed. So as of now, if the season ended today, the Memphis Grizzlies would be in the playoffs. I mean, I was not seeing that one coming. I thought this team had awesome ceiling, great upside, but just not now. But they're playing right now. John Moran's been awesome. Runaway Rookie of the Year right now. Jaren Jackson, super, maybe a star in the making. And then Dylan Brooks and guys like Brandon Clark have done an awesome job as well. It's just a really good basketball team. He's currently, being Dylan Brooks, averaging 24.5 points per game over this 4-game stretch. 27 against Pistons, 20 against the Suns, 24 against the Nuggets, 27 against the Knicks. So it's not necessarily, he doesn't have like the 50-point game or anything like that, but very solid scoring. Very, very solid scoring for a good young player, and something that this Grizzlies team will definitely rely on as the season progresses. Last but not least on my Players of the Week, Chris Middleton. And he only played 2 games last week over the last 7 days, but dude had 51 against the Wizards. I mean, come on. I get everybody eats against the Wizards. They may be the worst defensive team in basketball, but 51 is 51. And I just wanted to acknowledge Chris Middleton because he has had a great season. I mean, I think he's borderline 50, 40, 90, which is, as you know, it's 50% shooting overall from the field, 40% from three-point land, and 90% from the free throw line. His numbers are teetering that. So, gotta give him credit. He's been super efficient, maybe his best year to date. And given how good the Bucks have been playing and how well he's been playing, should be a lock for an All-Star appearance this year. So next up here on Ball Don't Lie, we're going to be doing, again, some more trade stuff. We've been giving you so much NBA trade content, so I don't want to overdo it. But this one's a little more interesting. I took a little bit of a different approach here. It's going to be called Smoke or Dope. This is not a segment promoting drugs. Kids, stay away from drugs. They're no good for you. So just a disclaimer there. We do not promote drug use here on Penn State Sports Night. But what we will be talking about, rather, is which rumors are and aren't true. So, in my opinion, if I think these rumors hold any weight or not. Man, I'm really making so many drug analogies here. I'm sorry. But first one actually does have to do with the Memphis Grizzlies, to keep it on topic here. The Dallas Mavericks are the Grizzlies' backup option to dump Iguodala. So, while the Grizzlies have been fun to watch, it has not been fun to watch Andre Iguodala basically be held against his will, not being able to play basketball. I guess perhaps he could be playing for the Grizzlies because they are actually better than what we think they are, and they're actually, winning games, and he would only help that, but they got a youth movement going there. Andre Iguodala needs to be on a contending team. The Mavericks would be an awesome fit. I selfishly would love him to come to the Lakers, but the Mavs would be a good fit. He's currently on the books for $17.2 million this year, so I really think that the Grizzlies want to trade him. So they don't have to. And plus, they'll get something back. I know they really want a first rounder. I don't know if they're going to get that or not, though. I'm hearing a trade with the Mavericks could include something like a Courtney Lee, and they own the Golden State Warriors second-round pick, and the Warriors are really bad this year. So that's basically going to be a first-round pick because it's going to be really high. It could be the 31st, second, third, whatever. I think it is projected to be 33rd as of today. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a good... I buy that one. That's dope. I'm going to say that this definitely makes a lot of sense. There's no smoke here, and I can totally see it happening. Next up has to do with Hassan Whiteside. He's averaging 15.6 points per game, 14 rebounds, 3.1 blocks, which I believe leads the NBA, and he's 8th in the NBA in player efficiency rating at a mark of 24.71. Now, this could be a case of a player just happening to do good in a contract year. Hassan Whiteside has always been that dude who kind of sells out for the bag. But, and it's worked. But, yeah, I mean, he's had a really good year. The Blazers have not, but he has had a really good year. With that being said, though, he is in a contract year this year. The Blazers are in luxury tax. He's making over $27 million right now. And the rumor is that Hassan Whiteside has a 50-50 chance of being traded. And it is worth noting that the Portland Trail Blazers, of course, Zach Collins is out. They expect him to come back. But let's not forget Yusuf Nurkic is expected to come back after he had that gruesome leg injury last year. And Hassan Whiteside and Nurkic cannot play off each other. They're both true traditional big men. And when both are at their peak, I would have to go Yusuf Nurkic. Let's not forget, he's a really good player on that team. And so I think Hassan Whiteside, if they had to move on from one, of course it'd be him. Something I saw that was a little interesting, actually, is the Chicago Bulls, they want to get off Otto Porter's contract, and he makes about what Hassan Whiteside does. So maybe that could be a swap right there with the Chicago Bulls. Blazers, of course, unfortunately, fellow Dookie, Rodney Hood, he tore his Achilles. He's out for the year. They could use some sharpshooting and some perimeter defense with Otto Porter. And the Bulls could use, another big man because Wendell Carter's always in and out of the lineup. And Hassan Whiteside, at this point, is probably an upgrade. And the Bulls are only a couple of games out of the 8th seed. And Zach LaVine's really hooping right now. So maybe a trade like that could really help them get in and make the playoffs. It'd be a huge success for Chicago. Another trade I saw, and we're going to be talking about both the Thunder and Celtics here a lot on this trade segment, is a Gordon Hayward-Steven Adams swap. This was proposed by none other than good old Kendrick Perkins on Twitter. Gotta love that. The money definitely works. Both these guys would make a lot. But I just don't know how these teams view their assets. I'm assuming very highly. I'm not sure the Thunder view Hayward as an upgrade or vice versa with the Celtics, with Steven Adams, but there's definitely a need for both. Or, I'll say this. The Thunder, of course, want to accumulate assets, and it's definitely safe to say that the Celtics need a big man, especially one that can play really big and physical like Steven Adams can. It'd be a huge get for the Boston. But I just don't see this actually happening. I'm saying this is all smoke. I just don't see the likelihood of this and both parties really agreeing to something here. Now, staying with the Oklahoma City Thunder, this is really interesting. Karl Anthony Towns going to OKC. Now, look, do the Thunder have the assets to pull this off? Oh, yeah, they do. They got a ton of draft picks, players. They can definitely make this work. But I highly doubt the Timberwolves want to let go of Towns that easily. He hasn't formally demanded a trade. He probably will soon. I'm sure if you tell me 3 years from now, Karl Anthony Towns on the Timberwolves, I'm going to be like, what happened? What did the Timberwolves, they get D'Angelo Russell, like, what did they do to possibly keep him? Because he's going to be gone. We talked about Anthony Davis, he was the big guy last season to get traded. Of course, like Westbrook and stuff too, but AD was the guy who really requested the trade. And, I think the next guy I'd say is either like Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. But out of those guys, they're all in pretty bad positions. Booker's an okay one, but Towns' position is not very good. It doesn't seem like the Timberwolves are going much of anywhere. Maybe they will, but he is really talented, all-NBA type of talent. He got off to an amazing start. He's putting up MVP kind of numbers. But I could see this happening maybe a year or two from now, because I think the Thunder are in a great position to really make their franchise great again. I hate saying that, but they're really good. They're really fun to watch, but of course not contending for like a championship. Making a move for Karl Anthony Towns, pairing with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You guys know I love him. The Kentucky duo, if you will. That'd be a big boy move from the Thunder. And we've seen Sam Presti. He's not afraid to pull the trigger on stuff like that. So I think I'm going to say smoke for now, but maybe call me back in a year or two on this, and maybe the likelihood will be greater. Also, another thing is Alec Burks. I feel very confident he's going to get traded. But I guess the question is where? He's on a very friendly deal. He's been one of the shining spots, beacons of hope for the Golden State Warriors this year. Not the next Steph Curry, I'm sorry, but teams that I've heard are interested in him are the 76ers, the Trailblazers, and the Magic. All of them could use him. I think the team I can most likely see, of course, is the Sixers. They're the team that maybe that's the move that gets him over the hump. I don't know. But he's been really good this year. I think the problem with Burks is that he's been healthy, which is good. That's not the problem, but he usually isn't. He's usually had injuries. So that's definitely a concern there. But I'm going to say that it's dope because I think that Alec Burks will, in fact, get traded. And if you had to give me a team, I think the Magic are a little sneaky, but I'm going to lean toward the Sixers, especially if they strike out on D Rose. Next up is the Houston Rockets. They are aggressively looking for help on the perimeter, and they need it. I mean, no offense to Ben McLemore, but I don't think the Rockets are super thrilled that that's their best option. He's had a good year, so give him credit where it's due. Maybe I'm just a little salty because he was, I believe, my number one ranked player coming out of that draft. And yeah, he was not the next Ray Allen. Whoops, my bad. But a guy who the Rockets could get is Davis Bertans from the Wizards. I don't think it'll be easy because he's been kind of one of the only bright spots on that team this season. But I'm hearing that the Rockets may offer their 2020 first-round pick. It'd be hard for the Wizards to hang up the phone if the Rockets are willing to give up a first-round pick for him. The money works. He only makes $7 million a year. It's probably one of the best contracts in basketball. He's one of the best three-point shooters in basketball, being Bertans. The Spurs really don't mess up on a lot, but they really messed up on that one because they basically let Bertans go because they thought they were going to get Marcus Morris. And then Marcus Morris is like, nah, I'm going to the Knicks. Man, that's a low blow. But, and then they got Trey Lyles instead, who really isn't the same type of player as either of those dudes. So that's a big L. But I'm saying this is kind of dope because I could totally see this making sense, but I guess the question is, how far is each party willing to go? Will the Rockets really give up a first rounder for Bertans? He'd be an awesome fit. Like, he'd be a perfect fit in that team. And do the Wizards just be like, nah, he's a good young player and we want to keep him? I think that's the dilemma we come up with here. So, not entirely sold, but I wouldn't rule it out. Next up is Miles Turner. He may find a new home soon, apparently. It's clear as day. And I said on the podcast, I think earlier on one of our first episodes, that I think Sabonis is the one that ultimately would have been traded, not Turner. And that's not the case. Sabonis is an all-star this year. He's a lock. He's been so awesome. And the fit with him and Sabonis just isn't perfect. It hasn't been. They're both really true centers. And with Sabonis being the better one, Miles Turner probably should find a new home. He got his money, which is good, so I don't have to worry about that. But I'm hearing the Pacers could be looking big. Could be looking at LaMarcus Aldridge or Kevin Love. And both those guys would like that because they can really play the power forward position, which is what they really like to do. So I think that's big ups for all of them involved. And I'm sure that the Spurs would definitely want to get, a guy like Turner, or even the Cavs. He's still pretty young and under contract. So, yeah, I mean, both those teams, being San Antonio and Cleveland, are in more of a youth movement. So, yeah, maybe perhaps that makes sense for both teams. Next up, and I could not believe this when I actually saw it, but it kind of makes sense. Kind of. A Chris Paul, Los Angeles Clippers reunion. Now let's dive into this a little bit. The proposed trade I looked at said the Clippers can package Patrick Beverley, Mo Harkless, Rodney McGruder, and Ivica Zubac, and the salaries would pretty much work. I mean, and the crazy part, if, let's say in theory this trade happens, the Clippers wouldn't have to get rid of Lou Williams or Montrezl Harrell. So they keep their four best players, if you include Kawhi and Paul George. Add Chris Paul, who, as much as I believe that Patrick Beverley's very valuable to that team, I mean, you have to cut your losses and go with Chris Paul if you have a chance to get him. Now, the salary is unfortunately difficult because Chris Paul makes a lot of money, but if you're talking about a move that really separates you from the Lakers, like, that's it. I mean, as a Laker fan, if the Clippers got Chris Paul, man, and the way he's been playing this season, that chip on his shoulder, man, I really would have a hard time believing that the Clippers wouldn't win it. I'm just going to keep it real. Lakers would have a chance. They would. I wouldn't be shocked if they did beat them, but, man, that lineup would be hard. But also up with here, as I have alluded to already, the Spurs have been actively shopping their two highly coveted players, both DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, and it looks like the Heat may want in. They're interested in trading for either of those guys, and maybe that's a move that kind of solidifies himself as the team to beat after Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference. Let me say this. I do not buy the Clipper thing with Chris Paul. That's not going to happen. It'd be really interesting, but I just do not see that happening. That'd be off the chain. But I will say, though, it's interesting with the Heat because how much they're willing to kind of give up to get either of those guys. They're not going to give up a Tyler Hero. They're not going to give up Bam or did they give up Duncan Robinson? Like, I just don't really know. And I would love the fit. I mean, Jimmy Butler with either of those guys would be super fun to watch. I think it'd work. But, yeah, I don't really know. I'm going to say this is smoke. I think this is just kind of the Heat having dream scenarios here. But if I actually think this comes to fruition, that I do not believe. Next up is Bogdan Bogdanović, bringing him up again. This one's super interesting. Him going to the Bucks. What? Now, hear me out here. This trade would include Dante DiVincenzo and DJ Wilson. So I guess the Kings would get two good young players that, maybe they can test out. But wow, if the Bucks could keep all their main pieces and get Bogdan Bogdanović, man, if they weren't the team to beat now, they would be with that deal. I'm going to say this is smoke. I don't think this happens. I don't even know if Bogdan gets traded, to be honest with you. You think he would, but I don't think the Kings, they're going to be stingy with it, you know? I don't think they're just going to give him up for nothing, and they shouldn't. But, man, that'd be a crazy trade. Next one, bringing up Aaron Gordon's name again here. He may be being used as trade bait right now. Like I said, they have, being the Magic alluded to earlier in the year, expressed interest in a DeMar DeRozan. And I'm sure that's kind of who that trade would center around if they were to trade for him. It would be DeRozan, Aaron Gordon, some sort of package there. But I also heard a potential Gordon Hayward swap with the Celtics. I think schematically for the Magic it makes sense. He's more of a natural 3 than Aaron Gordon is. I kind of like Gordon at the 4 more. He can play the 3, but I prefer him at the 4 because he's so athletic and can guard 4s like it's nothing. And he is better, inside out than outside in. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. And to cap off this segment, maybe crazier than what I said before with Chris Paul. Probably equally. Maybe the Chris Paul one's more intense. But the Raptors bringing back DeMar DeRozan. Oh, the irony. So basically, the Raptors definitely want to get off some contracts here, including Serge Ibaka or Marc Gasol, maybe both. But I heard OG Anunoby would probably be in this deal, and I don't really know if the Raptors are with that, per se. I mean, of course, we'd all love to see, DeMar go back to Toronto with his buddy Kyle, and it'd be interesting because it's not his team. I think at this point, Pascal Siakam's the better player than DeMar, and maybe even Kyle Lowry. So DeMar DeRozan, his role would be so much different if this were to happen. It'd be a cute story, but I'm going to say this is kind of smoke because I think that there's definitely some interest there, and it definitely could happen, but the odds that does maybe are a little too good to be true. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a pessimist here, but that definitely be a lot to ask for from, I don't know. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's basically like having making the Colin Coward analogies here, but basically breaking up with your girlfriend or something for like, I don't know, like multiple years you've been dating this person. You kind of dump her for someone who's better, in your opinion. Then that girl leaves you. And then you're like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what this reminds me of a bit. Not to get there, but I don't know. Thought that was kind of funny. Just came up with that one on the spot, actually. So, tip of the hat. But high five myself because I'm the only one in the studio right now. But last but not least, of course, we always do all NBA teams, and in honor of Kobe, we're gonna be doing all NBA Kobe moments. This isn't necessarily his, top 5 all-time moments per se. Maybe it is, but at least mine. Just me being a fan, and the 5 things I looked at, like, damn, I can't believe Kobe did that. That's so sick. First one, of course, has to be when he beat the Celtics in the NBA Finals. I feel like this is when the Black Mamba was, coined. Because when he lost in 2008 to the Celtics, that dude was in the gym working nonstop. Lil Wayne came out with the Kobe Bryant song. Pau Gasol just got there, and, man, Kobe was just on another level, and there was no way he was losing to the Magic in the NBA Finals. Finally got a crack at beating the Celtics again in 2010. Did it. And, capped off his 5th championship. Proved to everybody that he can win when he's the guy. Shaq didn't carry him. Yeah, I think that was a big moment in Kobe's career, honestly. And I think he did say that championship against the Celtics was the most important one of his career just because of everything that went into it and everything that transpired before it. So, of course, if it's his one of his favorites, has to be mine, especially since I'm a Laker fan, and I like beating the Celtics. Another one, number 2 on the list, would be hashtag Mamba out, when he dropped 60 freaking points in his final game as an NBA player. 20 seasons, capped off with a 60-pointer. I mean, what player in any sport retires, at least at a major level like that, and literally leaves it all out on the court? Shaq literally on the sidelines like, I bet you ain't dropping 50. Drops 60. Oh my God. And just he heated up at the end. Look, did Kobe jack up a ton of shots? Yeah, he did. He chucked up a lot. But, yeah, he went out swinging, and he literally left it all in the court, and that's just how Kobe played. Leaving it out all in there, and, it's stuff like that that inspires me, and has inspired many to just really fall in love with something and just be passionate about it and just put all your time into it. So, yeah, of course, I had to give him credit there. Next one, I did not see this one live, but of course I have watched the game many, 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 many times. It is when he dropped 81 points. Yeah, 81. Greatest scoring performance in NBA history. I don't care that it's not the highest. Will Chamberlain had 100. Actually, greatest scoring performance in history of basketball. Don't at me at that. They said that if Kobe played, if that 81-point performance was played when Will Chamberlain was playing, it'd be equivalent to 130 points. And Will Chamberlain's 100, if it was played when Kobe did that, would be equivalent to 57-ish. Of course, this is estimates, and pure speculation, but man, I mean, come on. That has to be, in modern basketball, no discredit to Will Chamberlain. Will Chamberlain is the GOAT. I'm glad him and Kobe, are both up there, chatting it up. But, yeah, I mean, come on. That 81-point performance, that's different. That is different right there. Next up, this is also against the Toronto Raptors. I guess Kobe just picking on him a bit. And I say this one just because I saw it live. But, and I'll paint the picture for you here. So, I was about 13 years old when this was going on. Yeah, I was 13. I was in 8th grade. It was, Dwight Howard Lakers days. OG Dwight Howard Laker days. So, very disappointing season. And of course, that's when Kobe tore his Achilles. And that's did not make my list, but I think I have to include the injury stuff on there too, and I'll get into that a bit. But so against the Toronto Raptors, this was it felt like a must-win game. It was in March, and the Lakers were teetering on the playoff bubble, and they really needed this win. And I was watching this one on NBA TV. I was staying up mad late for it. And Kobe just took over. He finished the game at 41, and it was just the fourth quarter and overtime. Jesus Christ couldn't check Kobe that day. No one could stop him from scoring. That dude was just getting bucket after bucket. It was one of those very typical Kobe nights, but I think that one was just special to me just because, again, I was a kid, and, it was one of the last times, I guess one of the last times that I saw Kobe in his prime. If that makes sense, because, he later that season tore his Achilles. Naturally wasn't the same player physically, but that was still, Kobe was leading league in scoring, first team All-NBA. It was like his 17th season. We're talking about crazy stuff LeBron was doing. Kobe was doing that same thing. Let's not forget about that at that same age. Of course, credit to LeBron. I'm one to always give credit to LeBron. But, yeah, Kobe was doing the same thing at the same age, averaging the most minutes in the league, and just carrying his team, to wins. And that performance was just something different. Definitely check it out on YouTube if you haven't seen it, just to see the highlights, and especially Kobe in the fourth, just dominating. And this didn't make my list, but I think Kobe, just what he was able to do fighting through injuries, and I'll refer to two particular ones, both of these which I saw live. First one being when he tore his Achilles against the Warriors. I cried that night. Again, I was 13, just a kid, but I was literally so upset because I kind of knew that this could be the beginning of the end of his career. And, but I will say, this man on a torn Achilles, and if you don't really understand what your Achilles is, your Achilles heel, it basically is the structure that connects your foot to the rest of your leg, right? So basically, if you tear your Achilles, your foot's not connected to your leg. So you can probably imagine how painful that feels. It's about a year recovery, 1 year recovery. So it's a super serious injury, especially for a basketball player. Not many come back. But Kobe Bryant got up, walked to, because he got fouled on the play, walked to the free throw line on his own will, nobody helping the dude. Standing, knocks down both free throws. Not only does he shoot the free throws, he makes that, both of them, and walks off the court on his own 2 feet without any guidance. I mean, wow. If that's not mental toughness and being able to resist pain, of course, there's a video of Kobe literally dislocating his finger and Gary Vitti just snapping it back into place, and he just doesn't even, make a face. There's Matt Barnes throwing the basketball right into his face. It wasn't even on purpose, but Kobe not even flinching. He was just that dude. And another injury was where he tore his rotator cuff in his right shoulder. I was watching that game, Pelicans. And as you can imagine, this is also later in Kobe's career, it was after the Achilles. Kobe Bryant, if you tear your rotator cuff, you basically cannot move your shoulder. Your arm is essentially dangling from your body. And it was his right shoulder, so it was his shooting hand. Kobe did not sub out of the game. Kobe Bryant was dribbling exclusively with his left hand, basically, and shooting, turnaround, mid-range turnaround jumpers with his left hand and drilling that. Are you kidding me? This dude basically had one arm, and it wasn't even his dominant one. And he was shooting with his left hand, just drilling this. This is insane. I think he scored, 6-7 points after he tore his rotator cuff. All lefty. What? Oh my God. It's funny because, so Kobe said this once in an interview, and not only did I watch all of Kobe's games, I listened to all his interviews too, because I just wanted to, pick his brain, and, because how smart of a dude he is, not just with basketball, but just in general. And he said to get better at your left hand and become more dominant with your non-dominant hand, one thing you can do is brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. So for me, I'm a righty. So something I have started doing before he even died was brushing my teeth with my left hand. I've been doing it probably a little bit over a month now. And when I first started, I couldn't do it. I physically could not. And I was like, wow. I can't do this. And it's crazy how much we take that for granted that, we rely so much on one thing. But it made me uncomfortable. And so I decided to start brushing teeth with my left hand. And now I can do it pretty well. So, I don't know, kids. Let that be a lesson. Step out of your comfort zone. That's what Kobe always did. And naturally, we're all afraid to step out of our comfort zones. But I did there. It's a little thing, but it was definitely an experience, and I still to this day brush teeth with my left hand. Last but not least, though, and of course I saw this live, was Kobe Bryant passing Michael Jordan to be third all time on the scoring list. Now he's fourth, of course. LeBron passed him. And that's just really cool that Kobe, his last tweet was to LeBron congratulating him. Everyone always thought they had a beef. I don't think it was a beef. I think it was a competitive respect that they've always had for each other. And they've always been boys. So, yeah, I think it's just maybe the media, wanting there to be something, but it's not. It's just a mutual respect. But, yeah, I mean, I was against the Timberwolves. He shot the free throw that put him over the top. And, it was really cool. Andrew Wiggins, who was in attendance for that game, he was on the team, the Timberwolves, and he, after Kobe died, they won the jump ball, and he put the basketball right on the foul line where Kobe made the free throw, and they took the 8-second violation. So that was really cool to watch. But yeah, I mean that, and Kobe Bryant being his idol was Michael Jordan, and I thought that was just really cool that I was able to watch that, and just knowing how much that meant to Kobe to pass Michael Jordan, passing of the guards, if you will. It was definitely a really cool moment in basketball, and me being a Laker fan, of course, very, very cool. So obviously, this is going to wrap up the Ball Don't Lie podcast here. I was talking for a while just by myself. I don't know how to think about that, but hopefully we can have some more guests on. Ryan Lamb definitely wants to get back on the pod. He couldn't today, though, but that's okay because I couldn't do it tomorrow. But, I just want to thank everybody for listening, tuning in, hearing me borderline breaking down, talking about Kobe, but trying to keep my act together because that's what he would have done. Appreciate everybody for the love and support with just anything in general. And, if you have a loved one, just pay your respects and, just appreciate life and everything in general. So thank you for tuning in, and hopefully I can catch you next week.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSNTV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.